Hi, welcome back to my studio. I was recently asked about some of the tools and equipment that I might need if someone's going to build a marionette. So I thought I would just go through just a quick list of some of the stuff that I would use. So let's start with the body. If I was going to make a body out of wire, I would probably use some copper wire. But if you didn't have copper wire, you could just as easily use a wire coat hanger. And you're just simply going to cut off the hook part. Or you can, you can twist this so that it comes apart. But you can certainly use a wire coat hanger just as easy as you could a piece of copper wire. We should talk about safety also. So a pair of safety glasses is probably a must, especially if you're going to be cutting anything that's metal. I really highly suggest that you have a pair of safety glasses. Also, a pair of wire cutters, or a small pair of vice grips like this. These are seriously about $4 or $5 at a hardware store. And the great thing about this pair is that it has pliers, but it also has the ability to cut wire with this part here. So again, $4 or $5. Vice grips, again, probably less than 10 bucks. Both are really super handy tools to have in any sort of sculpture building. I would also suggest that you get just some regular zip ties. And I showed in a previous video, I think I bought 500 of these for less than 10 bucks. So they're very inexpensive, and you'll find thousands of uses for them in your shop. The other thing that I use, of course, is weld bond glue. You probably hear me going on about just about every video about weld bond glue. That's another must. A utility knife or an X-Acto knife. I use both. I use the X-Acto knife when I'm carving something that I need to have, really super small or detailed, I should say. And of course the utility knife when I'm just cutting, big stuff like this pink insulation foam that I use. All right. So which brings us to this pink insulation. Really fairly inexpensive. A large sheet that's 10 feet by 2 feet is around $25. But I'm sure you could find smaller pieces, or ask them at your local hardware store. They will probably sell you a smaller piece or have something more your size. The other thing that I use is these little eye hooks. Of course, you're going to need these for attaching all of your limbs to your body. All right, and those of course are going to go into wooden dowel. I think these eye hooks, I bought these for 12 of them in a box like this for 97 cents, and I bought 4 foot of this wooden dowel for $2.97 at my hardware store. All right, so pretty inexpensive. I would say I also make patterns, and you've probably seen in a previous video where I made patterns. You're simply going to need just a scrap piece of paper to make your patterns on, a pencil or a pen to draw out the patterns, a pair of scissors to cut out the patterns. And this is all stuff that you probably have at home, so I'm not going to really give you prices on it, but a really good pair of scissors that you would get from a store like a sewing store is probably between $10 and $20, again depending upon how much you want to spend, but everybody pretty much has scissors at home. You're going to need some kind of a marker. This is a Sharpie green marker. I like to use this because it shows up really well on this pink styrofoam. So green shows up really well on this stuff. Another thing that you're going to need is you're probably going to need a ruler, just your normal regular everyday ruler. And so these are some drill bits that I have, and this package has regular drill bits in it, as well as spade bits. And this, when they come on sale, it's probably about $25, $20 to $25. But a singular drill bit is going to be, you know, less than $1, really. They're not overly expensive. All right. In my shop, I use this little saw. It's called a coping saw. And I checked at my hardware store yesterday. A coping saw with the blades is less than $10. So this is really useful for cutting your wooden dowel. It's also used for cutting lots of other objects that you might encounter in your shop or in your studio. The other thing on the more expensive side that I use is my Dremel tool. I use this for a lot of different things. I use it for drilling, to put my little eye hooks into wooden dowel like that. All right, so I use it for stuff like that. I also use it for sculpting. You may have seen in a previous video I did some sculpting with my Dremel tool. And the other tool that I use quite frequently is just a variable speed drill. This is a Dewalt drill that I've had for a number of years. I use it every day, and it holds up really, really well. So does a Dremel tool. You will buy only one Dremel tool unless you're doing something crazy, like I used to carve a lot of hardwood with my Dremel tool, so I would kill them after a year or two. But if you're not doing stuff like that, you will only buy one of these in your lifetime. And if you buy a really good one of these, you'll only buy a good one of these once in your lifetime. This Dewalt drill currently is about $59.99, and a Dremel tool with all of the different bits and fasteners and everything is around $70. Okay, so not hugely expensive. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comment section. And I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thanks for having a look at this. And if you have any questions, you know, please feel free to ask. Thanks for checking me out again.